What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard. It is Trading Live with Bubba, or should we call it Trading Dead? Because it's been really pretty quiet. Big move yesterday, but not on a lot of volume. I think that's one of the things that obviously we're lacking, the ability for some price action. There's a potential trade here in gold. We could look at real quick if you want. Certainly, you could take the gold trade if you want with a stop at 30.52. 30.52. And let me just get my orders in. So I'm working them with you. Okay. And again, but it's fairly quiet. Okay. We're seeing, pretty much of a, lack of overall activity. We keep declining volume on the bigger scheme. If you look at the overall volume, look at that. It's declining volume every day. So on a Fed day, normally you'd have more volume. You had a pretty big up move yesterday, and yet here we are with very little action. So we have to be patient enough to wait. I know it's annoying, but that's the game. Okay, the game is you have to be willing to wait for your opportunities. And right now there is not a lot. The trades we put on the other day are all working well. And I guess we'll go take a look at our board right now, or we'll go back and forth as we always do. Apple, which we talked about as a potential buy, never got low enough. We didn't make a trade in Apple. We talked about it. But again, one of the things I want you to recognize is the bounces off the bottoms that you're seeing. I think that's important to recognize. Remember, there's the difference between short-term trading and long-term investing, and then your time frames are also something that is important, as to how you look at the market. So on a longer time frame, obviously you're looking for those dramatically oversold or overbought conditions, and of course we're pretty much oversold. But we didn't have enough clarity to go ahead and make that trade. Amazon, we did make, and of course it did bounce nicely. Coin. Okay, we didn't really have much. We talked about that it might be seeing a bottom, but we wanted a little bit lower. We never got there. So again, I think the thing you have to recognize is not only do you want to make the trades and make money, but you have to look at trades that will help you in the future. It's pattern recognition. It's recognizing where you are within the market. So there's a lot of things to look at besides just active trading right now. And let's just flip back, see if there's anything worth looking at. Our gold trade is a tiny winner. Nothing. We haven't cashed it, but it's slightly. Let me put it this way: it's slightly profitable. Okay. And there's nothing. The sell-off that we're seeing right now. I mean, it's not a sell-off. We're still higher, but we were lower. But you're not seeing enough reach down into the selling. Okay. So that becomes, again, there's not enough emotion. There's not enough panic. There's not enough anything here that says to me, hey, I got to make a trade here. I need to be involved. And I think that's something to also recognize when you look at it. Okay. Now, one of the unfortunate things we have here is gold, okay, is now blowing off the other way. Okay. So, and unfortunately, it's all within a little bit of a range. So if you did take the trade with me, I want you to go ahead and put your stop in at break even, okay? Because again, the trade would be a potential reversal. I'm not going to reverse it, but it would be a potential reversal. And certainly I would rather, you get yourself involved and get out versus being in. And you should be out now again, when I say break even, that's like a tick or two to cover the cost of the trade. And that's important to recognize, what you're trying to do as well. Second, make one adjustment. But again, it's very quiet, so it's hard to want to get overly excited here. I mean, certainly the notes are something of potential, but I'm not really looking, again, when I know there's so few trades around, I'm really not all that excited about looking for much. I mean, we're not going to give up. The crowd, again, it was nothing the other day, and it's right back at the mean. So there's really nothing for me on the style we're using. Meta, which we did take the other day, right off the 200-day moving average. So there you go. And that's exactly the type of action that we're looking for. When we make those calls, that's what we're looking for. We have a reason to make the trade. We have an ability to make the trade. And Google, same one. We made good Google trade, bang, popped right back up. We looked at IWM, said it wasn't a trade. Microsoft, we said we wanted a little bit lower. But again, you are seeing the reaction that we would be looking for had those trades appeared. Okay, it just didn't appear in all of them. MSTR, again, there wasn't a trade. It's just kind of hanging. In fact, it's getting to the point where it could be the opposite. We could be looking to sell it. A Nugget is the one that's in a little bit of jeopardy right now. We're short to 61, 62. Okay. But again, it is rallying and gold continues to rally, unbelievably so. NVIDIA, we had nothing to do. The Qs, there was nothing to do. SMCI, there was nothing to do. Square or XYZ, there was nothing to do. We were looking for lower in the S&P, nothing to do. Tesla was certainly something we talked about, but nothing to do. Win, again, is now getting to a point that you may want to look at it. But again, I think Win is not really active enough. And of course, Zoom. So you can see that we got the desired reaction off of the trades we wanted. Okay. And at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. Again, it's not only making the right trade, but understanding why you're making the trade and where the trade is. Okay. So as we sit here and look, as you can see that there's still very little action on a short-term basis. So what do? Well, you have to be willing to observe the market without getting overly involved. Okay. Some days, and it's been this way, there's been more days than not recently that are very much untradeable. Okay. You could make money, but again, do you want to risk? You're taking more risk to make less money. And so to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay. I'm not a big fan of taking more risk to make less money. I think it's, we can get some very big returns if we wait patiently and get the movement that we're expecting. And again, we're not seeing much movement. I mean, basically, these charts are hardly moving. Okay. And just if you look at a price ladder, here's a Dow price ladder. Okay. It's relatively not moving. You want to see these things ripping up and ripping down. That's where the opportunity lies, not in a market that's trading in a 5-tick range and not going anywhere. Okay. And that's important to understand from a trading standpoint, that even if you found a trade, do you have much of an advantage right now? And can you make enough money to overcome the risk that you're going to have to take? Those are the important things that most traders don't catch on to and don't think about. But remember, the whole game that we play is about money. Okay. This is about money. It's that simple. How you get there, how you achieve it. But if you're not focused on looking for the right things and you're not disciplined enough, then you put yourself in jeopardy for no reason. And I think that is one of the big things that we always warn about and want to make sure that you understand. Listen, you can trade a lot, and the more you trade, the more you're going to make, but you also want to make sure that you are trading with the things that when they are in your favor, not when they're not in your favor. Okay. That is the bigger thing, is trading in the market when you are in favorable positions, not lack of favorability. Okay. So it was a good thing that the gold flipped around because we were able to get out. But again, we're waiting still for action, which we are not seeing. Okay. So what should I be doing? Well, I'm doing exactly what we're doing. We're talking and we're observing and we're learning how to say no, that maybe sometimes the trade is not available for us. I mean, crude continues to go straight up, but there's no reason for me to sell it yet because I haven't gotten this kind of bar. Okay. This would have been, if you were watching, it would have been a sale and probably a loser. I didn't make the trade, so I can't comment, but I would assume it would have, at best, it would have been break even. At worst, it would have been a loser. Okay. But overall, again, we continue to look and to watch and to try to find opportunity. But here you can see a virtual lack of activity. And, that makes trading all that much harder when there's no real shot. Okay. I just want to see one thing, 960. Okay. So that makes the ability for us to do things, like I just showed you, there's not really a trade to be made. Now, I'm sure people will make trades. And again, I'm not going to. I'm happy that it's the NCAAs are on today because they'll give me something to do instead of staring at this screen. Now, remember, you don't have to look at anything. You don't have to stare at a chart. Okay. You could look at the volume if you wanted. Okay. Or you could watch your DOMs or price letters, whatever you want to call them. And if they're not active, then there's nothing to look at. So you don't have to stare at these charts as we're doing now. Okay. Because again, if I just want to look at the volume, if the volume's not there, I'm not trading anyways. So I don't want to confuse myself by trying to look at a candle or a chart and say, oh, well, that's a good trade. Well, maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. But you have to have a plan and a guideline and rules that you're going to live by. When you start breaking the rules is when you start putting yourself into trouble. Okay. And again, this is a business. Make no mistake about it. Trading is a business. You are doing this to either as a living or to make extra money. Whatever the reason you're doing it, you are doing it. The end game is always to make money. Okay. So if you're giving up the edge on every trade, then you are taking away the advantage of the money you're trying to make. And that is something that is very important that many don't really understand. Okay. Is why we're here. We're here to make money. Okay. We're here to trade. Okay. But if there's nothing to trade, then we have nothing to do. Okay. And I can't justify anything right now as a trade. And if you don't know me, I'm a pretty aggressive trader, but I can't justify a trade. I mean, I have no idea where they're going to go from here. The charts are not giving me any messages. We're trading in very narrow ranges. I mean, here you go back in the S&P for the last, almost hour. Okay. You're in a 8-point range. Okay. As a floor trader, yeah, I could make a living on that. And look at the Dow. You're in the Dow over the last hour. You're in a 60 tick range or a 50 tick range. I mean, if you're perfect and you can get the bottoms and the tops, yeah. But I don't know anybody who can do that. I've yet to find somebody who can find all the bottoms and sell all the tops. So for our side, we just have to be patient enough to wait. Okay. We did miss a trade in the notes, which would have been a winner. But again, right now it's a 3-tick winner, which is, again, not bad. But I missed it. I didn't know if I missed it. Now, crude, if it could come down right now, see, you have the volume. So now I want to look at the chart. But when I look at the chart, I'm in the middle. Which way do I want to go? So if it would sell off harder, which it probably could, I'd look to be a buyer. If it rallied hard, I would look to be a seller. If you ask me what would I prefer, based on where we are, I would love to see it rally hard, okay? Because I think there's a greater probability it will go lower, at least for a while. I'd hate to be a buyer here, but I will follow the plan and I will follow the instruction of the trade. But right now, right, as I said, there's nothing to do. Okay, it's in the middle of nowhere. But if it does take off to the downside or it does take off the upside, I'm willing to either buy or sell. And right now, I'm non-committal. The market's non-committal, but I do know that the volume's in play. But so if you look at this volume, now you start to analyze the volume. Okay, what is the volume telling us here in this trade? Well, what it's telling us is that there's buyers and sellers. So it looks to me, if I were to guess, okay, I would say that somebody got forced out and had to sell, okay, and the buyers assumed it right away. They took the seller out, okay, and are holding the markets higher. So it looks like it wants to go higher. So I would love to see it break up another, 10, 12 ticks from here or more. I'd like to see it get up to here and give us a sell signal. I would love to take that trade. Okay. But again, I'm not going to force it. Right now I have nothing. Again, I have a lot of volume, which I'm looking for, but I have no direction. So that's what I have to, that's the debate that I have to have and the clock is winding. We're still, the sellers are still trying to sell, the buyers are still buying, and what do we have? We have a flat market. And all you got to do, if you want to see exactly what I'm talking about, flip it to a 1 minute. There. Here's the action on that bar that we're watching. Okay. Very little. Pretty much straight sideways. Okay. So I have no real reason to do anything here. Okay. Again, we still have, you had 18 seconds either to pop it or to drop it. And if it sits here, then there'll be no trade anyways. It really doesn't matter. Okay. And that's something to recognize from your trading standpoint. Now, the good news is maybe there'll be some follow through and maybe somebody will get forced out the other side and push it up. But from a pure trading standpoint, there is nothing for us to do. Okay. There's absolutely nothing for us to do here. So we have to sit back and watch and wait, and that's it. I'd love to give you more. I would love to have plenty of trades. Okay. Unfortunately, there's not much anywhere right now, and we have to sit and be patient and wait along enough to give us something. And again, it's frustrating. And when you get frustrated, you're more likely to get trapped. Okay. But again, just remember, you have markets that are doing this. Okay. Straight sideways. Where is your edge if you're going to trade into that market? That's all you have to ask yourself. Where is your edge if you're going to trade in this market? Okay. There's not enough action one way or the other to do anything. Okay. And the one that would be possible, there's not enough giving. It's not giving. Look at how small each and every bar is. There's not enough price action. There's not enough market participation right now. Okay. So unfortunately, that's the case. That's what we have. And we'll watch for another couple of minutes, but my guess is we won't see anything. And I think you can pretty clearly see that. And I'm not going to give you all winners because I can't do that, but I'm never going to put you into what I think is a bad trade to begin with. Okay. I'd rather miss than force a bad trade. Okay. And that's what I think that people have to recognize is that, trading is great, but you don't have to put yourself in, and you have the opportunity to sit it out, which is what we're doing right now. We're sitting it out because there is nothing really going. We see the NASDAQ dropping a little bit, but there's no volume. There's no panic. There's no emotion. So where am I going to go? Okay. So again, this is the hard part of trading, is the discipline to sit back and do nothing. And we'll watch for another couple of minutes, but my guess is we won't see anything. Nothing has been here to show me that I'm going to get a trade here. And remember, as a retail trader, which we all are, I was a floor trader for 30 years, but as a retail trader, which all of us are right here, I have to make sure that I get bigger profits. I can't scalp for going back in my day, eighths and sixteenths and quarters. Okay. I can't scalp the futures for $10. Okay. The risk is never worth it. You have to have something that creates a bigger move out of it. But right now you're not seeing any of that movement whatsoever, which again makes it a much bigger challenge. Okay. This is something that I can't stress enough to all of you to be very careful in these markets. And especially you've got triple witching. Expect tomorrow to be busy early, dead all day, and busy late. It may not bring opportunity, but the market should be pretty dry. And as of that, have a great weekend, everybody. And remember, every day I do a Market 120 with a brief overview of what I think is going to happen that day early in the morning. And until Tuesday, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you later.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.